What's up, everybody? It's Scrafted, aka the Ancient Gear Goon, coming at you with a deck profile for the Airfare Gaming Boys. Played Ancient Gears, got top 16 at a case tournament. Let's just go ahead and get right into it. Ancient Gear package is pretty small. We've got 3 Wyvern, 3 Frame, 2 Hunting Hound, 1 Ancient Gear Golem, 1 Ancient Gear Golem Ultimate Pound, 1 Reactor Dragon, and 1 Gadgetron Dragon. Wyvern is your Stratos. It searches any Ancient Gear card you can't set for the rest of the turn. All the Ancient Gear monsters say whenever they declare an attack, your opponent can't activate spells or traps until the end of the damage step. So I'm not really going to go over that for each one. Frame discards a card to add an Ancient Gear Golem or spell trap that specifically mentions it. It also summons Ancient Gear Golems and Ancient Gear Golem Ultimate Pound from hand whenever it leaves the field by an opponent's card effect. Hunting Hound burns for 600 on specifically normal summon. It also just fusion summons. It does not have to use itself. So if it gets removed from the field without negating the effect, you can still fuse from hand. This is almost always summoning Howitzer. 1 Ancient Gear Golem. It pierces and it cannot be special summoned, but we have ways to ignore that summoning condition. Ultimate Pound is the only one that does not have the spell trap effect. Instead, you can, whenever it destroys a monster by battle, you can discard a machine monster. It can make another attack. You can do that an additional 2 times per turn, so you can attack up to 3 times total. Reactor Dragon, it's typically what we summon off of Gear Town if we don't need a starter. It also has Spell Trap, and it, at the end of the damage step, destroys a Spell Trap card on the field. It does not pierce, unless it tributed an Ancient Gear monster to attack a deficient to attack. So it's more so just for like clearing boards to make way for Megaton Golem specifically. I played 1 Gadgetron Dragon. I was messing with this. I wanted an extra target to summon off of Gear Town in case I went Reactor Dragon, swing, pop Gear Town so I could summon the Gadgetron, swing, clear something else, and then clear the way. I didn't really like it. I'm probably going to switch this up to a 2nd Gear Golem so I can just make it so Megaton can attack 3 times if I want to. And that's it for the Ancient Gear monsters. Next we're going to move on to probably the most broken engine in the game not being used right now. It is actually just a crime that it's not seeing play. The Vernusylphs. We've got 3 Flourishing Hills, 2 Awakening Forests, and 2 Misting Seedlings. Flourishing Hills searches any Vernusylph card and summons an Earth from grave by discarding itself and a monster. Awakening Forests, Foolish Burials, any normal summonable Earth monster, and then summons an Earth monster from graveyard. It just has to be a different monster specifically. Misting Seedlings searches any Earth Fairy, which all of the Vernusylphs are Earth Fairy, so it's basically extra copies of Vernusylph for the Flourishing Hills in this deck. And it summons an Earth from grave. Pretty simple, pretty quick. These cards bumped up the consistency of the deck a lot, and I was actually able to just straight up normal summon Ancient Gear Golem a few times. Onto the Ancient Gear spells and traps. We've got 3 Catapult, 3 Gear Town, and 1 Fusion. I'm going to be making room for Ancient Gear Fortress in this deck, but for right now we'll just worry about this. We'll play 3 Catapult. Catapult, if you control no monsters, targets a face-up card you control. It destroys it, and specifically says, and if you do, summon an Ancient Gear monster from deck, ignoring its summoning conditions. This is the only card that can special summon. Well, this is one of the only cards that we play that can special summon Ancient Gear Golem and Ancient Gear Golem Ultimate Pound. The other ones include Ancient Gear Frame and Ancient Gear Howitzer, and I guess Ultimate Ancient Gear Golem, but we don't really make that much unless we absolutely have to. 3 Gear Town reduces the tribute requirement for both players for Ancient Gear monsters by 1. So if you have a level 6 or low, if you have a level 5 or 6, you can normal summon it without tributing. 7 or higher, you only tribute 1 monster. I thought about doing some cheeky plays with Monarch Stormforce with this card, but I didn't really want to go through with it. When it's popped, you can summon an Ancient Gear from hand, deck, or grave. This card can miss timing. It is very important that you try your best to make it so it does not miss timing. This is one of the best cards in the deck. It is not once per turn either, It's searchable off of Terraforming and Ancient Gear Ballista, but that's it for now. We're not playing an Ancient Fairy Dragon package, there's not enough room. It also is just not worth it, because if you search another field spell, Ancient Fairy Dragon still misses timing with Gear Frame, so you don't want to do that. Onto the generic spells and traps. We are blinding second. We will be playing 3 Pot of Extravagance, 3 Lightning Storm, 3 Book of Eclipse, 3 Mystical Space Typhoon, 1 Overload Fusion, 1 Called by the Grave, 1 Terraforming. We cannot play Pot of Prosperity because we're trying to OTK, so we just play this for our card advantage. Our extra deck has to be a little scuffed. We don't really have tech choices like most other decks do, so it's kind of rough. Definitely cutting this card. I'm on 41 right now. I'm probably going to cut this to 40 and then switch these out for Ancient Gear Fortresses, because that card can be bricky, but it's also just really good. Ancient Gear Fortress says the turn you have summoned an Ancient Gear monster, they cannot be targeted or destroyed by card effects. Also, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects in response to the activation of Ancient Gear cards. So they can't Ash Catapult, they can't Imperm an Ancient Gear Wyvern or anything like that. So the only things they can hit are going to end up being your generic stuff like your Vernusylphs. Heck, they can't even Ash Ancient Gear Fusion, so that card's actually pretty cracked. I just didn't have any, so I didn't play it. Book of Eclipse. We know what this card does at this point. It flips everything on the field face down, including your own monsters. And then during the end phase, flip up your opponent's monsters, and then they draw a card for each one. 90% of the time, we're going to be OTKing with Ancient Gear Giant over these, which pierces and attacks everything once each. So it's basically build your own UCT. So we don't really care about the draw part. If we can't resolve this, it's not the end of the world, it's just a little bit annoying. This is primarily just Ash bait or Negate bait to be able to open up our plays. Mystical Space Typhoon. This is actually the most efficient card to play for quick play, like back row removal, because this pops Gear Town, which summons from deck. So it's a combo piece and it's interaction, so it's probably one of the best cards you can play in this deck. Overload Fusion, I'm still pretty hit or miss on this. When I see it, it's not really necessary. It's just kind of a win more card. So I might just swap this out for like a Duster or something, especially because I'm cutting Lightning Storm, because I do want to have the option to be able to clear out some back row decks. Called by the Grave, it's out 1, we play 1, card's broken. Terraforming searches Gear Town, not really much else to say about it. You could theoretically play like a small field spell package, but I don't know why you would. That's it for the main deck. Extra deck, this was a little scuffed. We did not have everything we needed for this deck, so we're just trying to make do with what we can. This was more of like a proof of concept tournament, so I'm surprised we did as well we did. 2 Megaton Golem, 1 Chaos Ancient Gear Giant, 1 Ancient Gear Ballista, 2 Ultimate Ancient Gear Golem, 3 Ancient Gear Howitzer. This does not have piercing, it still has a spell trap effect. It attacks up to if it used 2 or more Ancient Gear Golems or Ancient Gear Golem Ultimate Pounds as material, you can attack up to the number of Ancient Gear Golems and Ancient Gear Golem Ultimate Pounds you used. This, unaffected by spells and traps, your opponent cannot activate monster effects during the battle phase. This came up against Sky Striker. I was able to out their monster. They were unable to activate their Ray, and they couldn't really come back from it. Definitely want to play 2, maybe even 3. Ancient Gear Ballista, it searches an Ancient Gear monster, so for most of you that play this card, it searches Ancient Gear Box. For me, it searches anything else, or Gear Town, which Gear Town is relevant, because if we search Gear Town, we can activate it, and then use the second effect to pop the Gear Town, and then change an opponent's monster's attack and defense to 0. This also has the "and if you do" clause, so it'll also still summon an Ancient Gear from deck, which is why I was playing the Gadgetron and the Reactor Dragon. The Gadgetron could realistically just be another Reactor Dragon, but I just wanted to be funny. Ultimate Ancient Gear Golem. This opens up some neat plays with A Hero Lives and Elemental Hero Prisma. I wasn't playing that package, I don't really like it, but otherwise we didn't really summon this card. It's more so in the deck because if Megaton Golem gets popped, we summon this, and then if this gets popped, it summons an Ancient Gear Golem from grave. Howitzer burns for 1,000, unaffected by card effects, and when it's destroyed by battle, which is the only way to out it, realistically, other than tributing over it, I guess, summons an Ancient Gear Golem from deck. That's it for the Ancient Gear extra deck monsters. Definitely, like I said, 2 or 3 Ancient Gear Giants, 2, maybe even 3 Ballistas. And then for the filler, we played 3 Gear Gigant X. This card never came up. It was just literally banished fodder for Xdrav. Realistically, one of these is going to become a Ballista. The other one is going to become an Ancient Gear Giant. And then this one will probably become a Zeus. I'm not entirely sure yet. 1 Baguska, because we make a bunch of level 4s. So if in the event that this doesn't get banished, we have it going first play, which is nice. This card might get bumped up to 2. It is a somewhat generic out for Ibly, which is also why we're playing the Lingeribo. Off camera. Also why we're playing the Lingeribo. But realistically, this card's good because Catapult can also just summon a level 0 token. We're 99% of the time not using that effect, but if we have to, we will do that. And then we can make Transverser, give them the token, and then pierce over it with any of our Ancient Gear Golems. Then on to the side. The side was, again, not very good. It was more of like I'm testing this deck, I want to know what I need, and so the side's going to look kind of shit, but we're working on it. 3 Raigeki, and 3 Lancia. The Raigekis were just extra board breakers, so we bring these in instead of the Lightning Storms for the trap deck, or for monster decks rather than trap decks. This was for Kashtira, Fluwandereeze, and just other decks that kind of relied on banishing. And then I was playing some blind first cards in case I made the soul read that my opponent was going to make me go first. So 3 Gozen, 3 Skill Drain, 3 Anti-Spell. The only cards in this extra deck, or in this side deck, that I'm probably keeping are going to be the 3 Gozen and the 3 Raigeki. Everything else is getting swapped out. I'm probably going to be testing Thrust, and like a small Thrust package in the side, because Thrust can also search Catapult, it can search Terraforming, it can search just a whole slew of good cards in the deck. So that I was kind of surprised I wasn't playing that in the first place, but definitely going to be siding that from now. And then probably just some Kaijus and some other generic good cards. Alright, that's it. Thank you very much. Keep an eye out. I'm posting some more videos with Airfare Gaming, because I absolutely love this deck. And peace out.